The Toronto Maple Leafs didn't just win a draft lottery. They inherited pressure, and not normal pressure either. This is that Toronto pressure. It's the kind of pressure where one playoff turnover haunts you for years. The kind of pressure where every superstar becomes a symbol of something almost bigger than hockey in the moment. The kind of pressure where an entire country debates your leadership qualities after a loss in November. And for all the people outside of Toronto, that sounds exhausting. But maybe that's the point. Because if you truly believe you are great, why wouldn't you want to go to the hardest stage in the world and bring a Stanley Cup back to the largest market in hockey, the first one in over 60 years? Because easy markets, they create stars, but Toronto creates mythology. And one teenager is about to walk directly into the middle of all of it. Act 2, this isn't a replacement. This is where people misunderstand what's happening. Toronto is not about to replace Mitch Marner. This is Toronto questioning the emotional identity of the Matthews era itself. Because the Leafs, they're standing at a crossroads. They have a new GM. Matt Sundin is looming and foreshadowing over him in the organization. And this is now a franchise that needs to emotionally decide what team it's going to be after years of playoff failure. And Auston Matthews stands at the center of it. Still one of the greatest goal scorers alive, still the face of the franchise, still the captain for now. But the Matthews era feels emotionally unfinished. Not failed, but unfinished. That's different, and the Leafs are about to draft a young winger that is going to stand beside Auston Matthews on the first line for the foreseeable future. And that's where this becomes fascinating, because every athlete faces this moment in their career. The future arrives and stands beside them, and the question they suddenly face internally and externally, is this still your team? Or is that the next era standing right beside you, ready to replace you? And that dynasty, it exists in every team, in every legendary franchise, in every sport. It exists in every kingdom. And not because great players are selfish, but because superstars want two things at the same time. They want help and they want ownership. But eventually, those things start colliding. Act 3, Toronto isn't just choosing a player. Maybe it's Gavin McKenna, the Canadian superstar, already carrying impossible expectations on his shoulders. He's a confident, dynamic, and explosive player. This is the kind of personality that Toronto may fall in love with overnight. Or maybe it's Stenberg, calmer, more composed, I'd argue more emotionally stable. And because he's Swedish, the Matt Sundin comparison is 100% unavoidable immediately. And that's what's going to make this draft so fascinating as we go back and forth between McKenna and Stenberg. Toronto, they're not just choosing talent here. They're choosing a complete emotional direction for the team. They can't miss here. There is no room to get this pick wrong. McKenna feels like he could be a player ready to light a fire under the franchise and under the team. Stenberg feels like control around a franchise that has felt out of control for a very long time. It almost feels like one can be the future just exploding into that dressing room, doesn't it? The other pick feels like a franchise that might just be trying to emotionally stabilize itself. And meanwhile, Auston Matthews stands in the middle of all of this. Because if that new kid succeeds, what does that emotionally mean for Matthews? Does Auston Matthews embrace it? Does he support it immediately? Do you feel like the pressure finally spreads itself over multiple stars? I mean, this is a captain that has been surrounded by talent like Nylander, talent like Marner, talent we have seen him argue and fight with and hug and skate beside. Or quietly, does Auston Matthews feel what every superstar eventually feels? the spotlight quietly moving away from him, because that is the emotional reality of succession in this world. Young stars never enter quietly, especially in Toronto. Act 4, why Toronto matters. This is the part outside of Toronto that people never really fully understand. The pressure exists because the city still cares. Even after 60 years and missed attempts, the city and the fan base that extends vastly beyond it still care. They care deeply, obsessively, and very emotionally. And you cannot forget that the NHL markets exist because Toronto exists. And because the fans of Toronto never stopped caring irrationally about this sport. The giant TV deals that you see, the ability to play hockey in Florida, Nashville, or anywhere else in the United States is shouldered by the Toronto Maple Leafs. It is shared by teams like the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers, but there is no team financially anywhere close to what the Leafs produce for the NHL. The ecosystems in those cup-winning Southern teams exist because Toronto kept hockey so emotionally important across an entire country. You see, teams like Florida, they offer comfort, but Toronto offers the chance at immortality. And yes, that pressure, it crushes some people. It crushes them so bad that they leave town to other teams. But if you truly believe you're great, wouldn't you want to win on the hardest stage in hockey? Why wouldn't you want the chance to become the player that changes the emotional state of the largest hockey market on planet Earth? Because if you win in Toronto, you don't just become Stanley Cup champion. There are hundreds, thousands of Stanley Cup champions. You become hockey history forever.